here on July 2nd, and I hereby call this recess meeting to order. City Clerk?
Mayor DeBrio.
Here.
Councilmember Finley. Here. Councilmember Lisi. Here. Councilmember Cumberland.
He just walked in.
Oh, okay. Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Marr.
Could I get a motion to confirm the agenda?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Finley. Could I get a second?
Second.
Second made by Councilman Lisi. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Glad everybody could be here for this first budget hearing. There's 6 of them. Just making sure.
Thank you.
Again, we're going to only discuss the general fund. We'll also discuss the sales tax diversion money, as well as touch a little bit on solid waste. The other funds that we have are all grant type funds that will just be revenue coming in if we haven't already received that, and then the expenses going out for, or anticipated expenses going out for next year. So those will either balance out to zero, or will either be a huge negative fund balance for this year to coordinate with the fund balance we already have in that account. So either way, those will all zero out. So it'll increase our overall revenue and expenses, but not really make an effect to our standing as funding goes. So looking at our FY 24-25 budget, I want to start with revenues, if you don't mind. We have, starting with real property, we're anticipating you didn't give me that spreadsheet. No, you only gave me this page. Starting out with the real property anticipated of $2.5 million. Just off the top of my head, until she gets me the spreadsheet, I believe that's about $100,000 to $150,000 increase over last year. A reason for that anticipation is our millage value, or our mill value, is going up from well, it ended last year at 102 something, so roughly let's say 103, and the anticipated mill value for next year is 107. So about a $4,000 increase in our mill value, which is wonderful.
Excuse me
Expected.
for a second. Do we have one that's got FY 24 and then FY 25 on it, 2 columns, so we can see it?
No,
We don't.
not tonight. We'll
Okay.
get you that for the next meeting.
Okay.
We're just looking at 24-25 budget, not the rest of the revenues, auto tax, property taxes, or personal property taxes in prior years. Pretty much all are going to stay the same, with no significant increases anticipated. So we just have left them the same for next year already. Let's see, going on down the line, building permits, we reduced that down from, I want to say it was 150 last year to 125,000, just with an anticipation of not as many new homes being built for next year. Everything else I think stays the same. Homestead, our homestead exemption reimbursement of $350,000, which is an increase, I want to say, of around $50,000 to $60,000, and the anticipation for that is our second payment was around $180,000. So if you double that, no, or more than that. But anyway, if you double that, you'll get to closer to $350,000 than last year's budgeted number, about $310,000 to $320,000. Sales tax, we left at $1 million with that anticipation. We are, a little bit less, or expecting a little bit less this year, but hopefully we'll rebound for next year. So we left that number the same. Road and bridge, we increased that. It was, I think, $110,000 to $115,000 last year, and we increased it to $125,000 because that's actually what the county collected. So we should see that additional revenue coming into us. Everything else stayed the same. We expect the same amount. Interest, maybe there'll be a little bit of an uptick on that, but should be somewhere close to the same. And then, of course, the sale of property, we reduced that from $170,000 down to about $15,000, simply because, of course, we don't have any new equipment or any old equipment that we're going to sell off again next year. We sold off the majority of it this year.
It's like a bird away from my coop, the long year.
That's all right. Let's see. Anything else? That should be it. The only other big increase in revenue that we have budgeted or anticipate to budget, and we may not do this after getting news or a little later, was to do a new capital lease loan. So we would get proceeds off that loan of, we were looking at borrowing about $350,000 to purchase some needed equipment for Public Works as well as vehicle for the city. But the interest rates came in about 6% or so, 6.2, was it?
Yeah.
6.2%. So.
Well, lady said they
So-
won't give me a fire in that ballpark.
So that's a little bit higher than we would want. So we'll have to look and see if what that overall cost would be to determine if that's something we really want to go forward with at this time.
Our current that we have is 1.42. We
Yeah.
have 2 more payments on that. So we were contemplating paying that off early, which is what we did the last time, and then did a new equipment lease and purchase some new equipment that we,
Hopefully a copier,
a copier.
or at least a new one that doesn't jam when you use it.
That one's still got
What-
2 more years to pay off. So
What was
well, that
the
was
FY '24 for the total non-departmental revenues? FY
The anticipated
24?
revenues for FY '24, with everything, we're anticipating about $5.7 million. So this is up a little bit, mainly for that $350,000 increase with loan proceeds. So our overall estimated revenue, as we have budgeted for at this time, is $5.88 million, which, like I said, is our original budget, I think, was $5.4 million for FY '24, and we're just anticipating a few revenue increase there to that $5.7 million. Starting looking at the departments, council, nothing significant change there, as I don't believe anything necessarily needs to change in that department. The court department, we have a decrease in property or in equipment that we've purchased on there that we're purchasing this year, so we won't purchase that next year. Other than that, pretty much that department is going to hold steady as it was. So only about a $3,000 decrease. In this budget, I should have said that to start with, the overall, we have a 3% increase on to all departments for all salaries and benefits. That cost to the city is about $40,000 additional from over this year's salary and benefits. Looking at administration, the 140 general administration, we're looking at an increase of about $40,000 total, and that is mostly for a $50,000 vehicle for the administration, which would come out of that lease purchase if we go in that direction. Looking at the police department, that's unfortunately the most significant change. Well, maybe not. It's about a $50,000 increase. The majority of that is coming from our sheriff's interlocal agreement. Their PERS went up 0.5%, and will go up 0.5% for the next 5 years, as well as they are anticipating a 3% salary increase for their officers, as well as their benefits to that. So that's where the $50,000 increase comes in there.
What was the
go ahead.
FY '24 total on the general admin, GL 140?
I don't have that in front of me.
Oh, okay.
The reason the police department is only $50,000 is that we luckily, or we were awarded or given in this year's legislative session a vehicle through capital expenditures So the sheriff's department will actually be purchasing a vehicle for our sheriff's, for our department here. So we're only going to have to purchase one, so we budgeted only for one sheriff's vehicle, and the other one will come from the sheriff's department. Moving on to the building department, there are no significant changes there. The 25 anticipated budget of 449,000, I believe last year it was 447 or something to that effect. So there is no significant change there, with no anticipation to need any changes. Public Works, we have a significant change of about $60,000. This is for plus and minuses. There's a $110,000 decrease to streets and drainage, and the reason for that is the McKeekee Drive project that we had to finish for the city, and that, of course, revenue came in to cover that expenditure. And then we have $200,000 increase in mobile equipment for next year, which is part of that loan as well. So that would be the other half of that. We had $100,000 in budgeted for last year. This year we're looking at budgeting $300,000 for his equipment purchases, and that would be the $200,000 difference. Debt service, there's an increase there of about $68, almost $70,000, and the reason for that is if we pay off the current lease that we have a year early, we would be paying two payments. I want to say 68 plus interest of almost $1,000. So we would be paying that twice. So it'd be a total debt payment of $134,500 instead of half of that, $68,000. Also in here in the building department as well as in the admin department, we are starting the process of computer replacement. We will be purchasing 5 computers this year, or we have it budgeted to purchase 5 computers next year, I should say. And that will start us on that down that path of purchasing probably 5 each year thereafter. And it is probably past due, unfortunately, on that. So we'll be making those additional or purchases each year. Also in there, in our admin, we are actually going to remove our server and go to a cloud-based system. This will cost us, the new server would cost us about almost $17,000, plus installation fees and so forth. Instead, we will go to a cloud-based system, which will cost us about $600 a month. And then the other services that we have, we lose some that we don't need anymore for backup, and then add some other things. So it'll total cost of about $600 increase. This way, we'll have that system, and we'll be able to log in anywhere. We'll be able to utilize it, and won't have to worry about having a server here that can go down. I was nervous about that, but Pascagoula actually spoke to their city manager, and he said they've been on it for about 2 years, and they love it. It frees them up, and they don't have to worry about whether they're having a budget for or even pay for a new server. So
Is it stored someplace safe from storms?
stored and backed up and overstored and everything else. Yeah, our Gulf Regional Planning actually is going to this same thing, and that's how we got into the discussion. And they've done that research as well to determine what's there and what's required and what's needed. So very secure and very much taken care of as far as backup. None of the backup would be local or anything like that. It's all stored in server farms throughout the country.
And we are on borrowed time.
Yeah, that is true.
It gave us last week, was it last week? It was making some horrible noises.
The only other big significant increase in here is from this year, we are budgeting for $150,000 for paving using local money. As you all hopefully remember, in this current budget, we do not have any paving, as we were using our bond funds to make those to make that payment for the paving that we did this year. So for next year, we're putting in the $150,000 from the county road and bridge funds to supplement the remaining bond funds that we have to do our paving project.
So that 154 shown in the capital outlay paving
Yes.
under 912 is the road and bridge 125?
That's
Okay,
correct.
that was a question I had to ask. Okay, plus we have the $1 million left in the bond.
That's correct. All right, and that's pretty much a general fund. Overall, right now, we have a anticipated expenditures. I don't have the actual number in front of me, but right now we are anticipating revenue of about $85,000 more than our expenditures that we have budgeted. That, of course, we'll adjust that a little bit more and get it closer to zero for FY25. Looking forward on to. Oh, well, let me back up if you don't mind. That is under 146.53. Oh, if you look back on under 704, which is your appropriations. On mine, it's page 4. I don't know if that's correct on there. Page 2?
No, you mean page 3.
Page 3, okay. The general appropriations, and of course, as you all know, we get requests from
It's page 2.
others, aside from the ones we already give appropriations to. So on the last page of your packet there should be a spreadsheet of our appropriations, what we gave current, or what we had budgeted this year in FY24, and what we have received as request in FY25. I'm asking each of you to look over that list and determine what other appropriation or what numbers you want to put in the FY25 requested column, and get that back to me so that we can make that.
Do you anticipate hearing from some of these people that haven't requested yet? Because like I know the PRCC, the CTAP program, I mean, they have students from Diamond Head. Do they not need the money this year?
I can't say that I don't necessarily anticipate these people to reach out to us. I kind of think they just sort of expect it or just plan for it. I don't really know. But the only reason why I just have the ones that have asked for something.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean you don't have to give to the others. It's just, these are the requests that I have received, and it's those 3 people have sent either emails or letters to us asking for those donation or appropriation for next year.
And I know Magdalene House is reaching out because I ran into her.
Well, she hadn't sent anything yet.
Now,
so
what
she'll
about-
send something, maybe.
What about, we had asked you in a motion to find funding for Friends of the Animal Shelter, being that
Yes.
SPCA is no longer functioning. Did we find money to put in here for them?
There is nothing else in here at this time. I can tell you that.
So we theoretically could move the Diamond Head SPCA to
you-
Friends of the Animal Shelter
you
to
could
do
do-
vouchers.
You could do anything. I would
Okay.
not give to the Friends of the Animal Shelter, nothing personal. I would give to the Hancock County Animal Shelter itself.
Can they give the free vouchers? Can we check with the county administrator on that? Because I'm not,
Certainly.
I think that's why they were going through the Friends of the Animal Shelter. And the purpose of the free vouchers, we know without the free vouchers, we're not going to have the animals fixed like they need to be to prevent overpopulation, and that's where we're headed without vouchers.
We talked about that, but I don't remember the outcome. We did talk about it, but
We made a motion to find funding for it. We just hadn't put any funding in it, so that's what we need to do.
I think,
Yeah.
I assumed we were gonna be using the SPCA, so we'll see.
I assume the same.
All right. So if you guys would look over that and get that back to me, I'll put that in, and we will include that in our next budget hearing. Moving on to the Mississippi Infrastructure Fund. I don't know if you guys have that. Is that printed out on there?
I don't know if we printed that, we just did the,
I got you. Yeah, okay.
we ran over those other ones.
Yeah, ran over those other ones real fast. The Mississippi Infrastructure, which we talked about briefly at the last council meeting, We have for FY '24, and our current expenditures are $480,000, and that's for our bond repayment. That's the debt and the interest, or the principal and the interest that we have to pay. We are anticipating revenue of $560,000, so we should make about $140,000 more. I think I said that number right. Yeah, no, about $80,000 more than what we currently have as far as expenditures go. Plus, there will be some interest in there, maybe $10,000 to $12,000, so $80,000 to $90,000 over. Now that is, we expect our second payment to come or our second payment will come in July. So we'll have that number finalized here in the next couple of weeks as soon as it comes in. So for FY '25, we've gone ahead and done the same thing with that same anticipated revenue of $560,000, and our expenditures will be for the bond repayment is $482,000. It increased a little for interest, so we'll still anticipate plus or minus about $80,000, and then whatever interest we earn off that. Now, the best thing about that is that this year the state legislature changed the law on that again for what expenditures can come out of this Mississippi infrastructure funds, and now allow us to buy capital equipment as long as it's for road and bridge or that type of work. So with the $80,000 left over or whatever, we could look at either paving some more or purchasing a piece of equipment for road and bridge repairs. So, which is a wonderful thing that they went back to that, allowing for that. And the last fund I want to talk about is the solid waste fund. We started out with FY '24 with a fund balance of $224,000. We have anticipated revenue of about $680,000, but unfortunately we have expenditures, anticipated expenditures of about $760,000. So we should end with an anticipated fund balance of $144,000. So looking forward to FY '25, we take that $144,000 with the same revenue and expenses, and unfortunately that doesn't include any CPI that may happen over the next few months now or in FY '25. We would end with an anticipated fund balance of about $65,000. I think that's acceptable for next year as far as a fund balance in that solid waste fund. But we will definitely have to look at, unfortunately, depending on what their CPI increases are for the next 2 years, we would have to look at in FY '26 possibly having to increase solid waste fees to cover that additional expenditures. We're losing about $80,000 a year right now, and as you may or may not know, general fund cannot supplement that in any way, so it has to come out of the fees we collect from the solid waste. So, right, like as I say, right now we're in decent shape. One thing also that helped, our active accounts went up to 4,235, which I believe last year was 4,155 was our original number. So we're up almost 80 additional accounts. So that helps overall. So
What was the total number you had?
4,235. So we'll see if how much more that increases and what more is needed in FY '26. So we got another year to wait. I think. I believe we're in good shape for this next fiscal year, but we'll have to look forward in the next one to look at raising that, unfortunately.
And if you're gonna calculate that times our current rate, there is a trend of about a 10% non-collection that we can never collect. And then, of course, the tax assessor takes 3% of what he does
Right.
collect, so.
Because he does the billing.
Yes.
Is under the interlocal, the interfund transactions grant match, there's 600,000. Is 400 of that for the motion tonight, for the match on the 2 million on the Go Mesa?
That is not on Go Mesa. That is on our
on
Gulf Coast Restoration
Gulf
Funds.
Coast, yes.
That's $400,000, and then I did add another $200,000 in case we go out for a Gulf Regional planning grant, because they're usually 75-25 or 80-20. So if we go out for one of those, and of course we have two currently, and we may have to increase either one of those. So if so, we'd have a little extra in there to be able to cover that grant match.
Okay, that was a question I had.
And that's it for me. If you guys have any questions, feel free.
The next budget meeting is, when's the next budget meeting?
The 18th, is that our next meeting?
5:30 on the 18th. Can we get it printed with the FY '24?
We'll have both, yes.
Okay, then the FY '25, and it makes it easier to see. Okay, if there's no questions, we're going to adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right.
Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Move.
Motion made by Councilman Cumberland. Could I get a second? Second made by Councilman Clark. All in favor? Aye. If you would like to address the council tonight, you have 4 minutes to come up here and